What do you guys want to watch?
I don't know. What do you want to watch?
I don't know. What do you guys think?
How about this movie?
Now for our feature presentation.
Welcome back to another episode of How About This Movie? We watched Jumanji 2017. That's Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, for those of you who don't know out there on the interwebs.
Yep. Starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Karen Gillan.
That's her name, thank you.
And that fucking Jonas brother.
Yeah, that fucking Jonas brother. I think it's the diabetic one.
I don't remember his name.
Pretty sure it's the diabetic
Yeah,
one.
because the youngest one was the diabetic one, and it wasn't Joe.
And I'm pretty sure his name is Nick.
Nick Jonas.
So
And Kevin hasn't been relevant since...
I'll cut that one in.
Was Kevin ever really relevant?
just when the Jonas brothers were the Jonas brothers.
But he was still,
So-
like, the least relevant brother, because he was the oldest one.
Is Kevin not the one eating cake by the ocean?
No, that's Joe.
He's eating cake by the ocean. Jumanji, I think, is a pretty stereotypical story, like a kind of a teenage coming of age story, mixed with almost like a nostalgia grab, just being called Jumanji.
Yep.
I think we
Playing
can all agree
off
there.
of the old classic, and
Yeah.
people who grew up with it.
Yep.
Very common character archetypes. You know, you've got your like super protected bubble boy, nerd kid. You've got your dumb jock. You've got the ugly pretty girl, and you've got the vain pretty girl. I don't really know what to call her.
The popular girl.
Yeah.
I was surprised to find out that the nerdy bubble boy was Alex Wolff, the younger drummer brother of the Naked Brothers band.
That's right. So obviously it is a pretty common story, pretty frequently told story, used through the Jumanji vehicle to tell the story. It's the kids having to take the role of their parallel in the game. So Nerdy Bubble Boy becomes the smoldering hero. Big Jock becomes the little whipping boy. Ugly Pretty Girl becomes the pretty girl. You guys picking up what I'm putting down here?
Yep.
You're going to make me list them all off?
Yeah, I picked it up when I was watching the movie.
I know you did. But yeah, I feel like they really drove home the standard themes. You know, let's come of age. Let's have our own hero stories, and then just grow up. It's a transformation.
Yeah, their transformation, all with the common theme of you only have this one life.
Yes, I think they do a pretty strong job of beating into you that you only have one life.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
One life to live.
One chance at said life.
So you gotta make it count.
Yeah.
You gotta kiss the girl.
Nope.
You gotta
Even though they
do whatever else you do.
waste a lot of their video game lives quite
Well, that's because they have to get to one life for the metaphor to really like stick in. Because
Yep.
obviously,
then
if
they'll
I
appreciate it.
yeah, well,
let's force our life lesson.
Tyson, it's
through
really
our
easy to be brave,
mediocre storytelling.
except for when you only have one life.
But you only ever have one life.
Direct quote from the movie. See, they've got to really jam it in there. Now
They really jammed it in there. No lube.
yeah, no loop. Now, to be fair, I think we can all agree this is a movie we enjoyed.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable movie.
It's just a boring
was-
retold storyline, but
Yeah,
it was a good movie. We all laughed and enjoyed it.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that's gonna make people go, "Oh, this is one of the greatest movies of all time."
Yeah.
No, it was an enjoyable movie. It's not gonna be like, "Hey, this movie sucked ass." No.
A classic high school movie. Very reminiscent of Breakfast
The
Club.
Breakfast Club.
Like, it's very geared towards what's supposed to be, like, hip with some of the language they use. It's very cringy in some of those parts, and it wasn't just an overall, like, a for everyone movie like I feel like the original was, but I might be a little bit biased because I was young when I watched it. But
R.I.P. Robin Williams.
I don't know. The audience seemed to be different for this movie versus the first movie.
Yeah, well, I kind of like we discussed after we watched the movie, it felt like Jumanji was just a really well thought out cash grab. Like, it's a good movie, but they got a lot of key demographics in one movie. They made a lot of money off of something that they didn't have to work that hard on.
And they definitely didn't work hard on it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of parts that they did very well on. They translated the story from the board game to the video game as well as they could have. It didn't translate super well, but I don't know how much better it could have been other than some of the stuff we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
With just more parallels to how the board game functioned versus how the video game functions. But yeah.
I think what really brought it home was the acting. I mean, they all
Best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Bar none.
I mean, Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black, obviously like comedy juggernauts. You know.
No one can play a teenage girl as well as Jack Black.
Absolutely nobody.
That includes teenage girls. Jack Black really, I don't know if he was a method actor for the film and re-enrolled in high school and became the popular girl. I don't know exactly what he did. I would like to start the rumor that he re-enrolled in high school and became the popular girl.
It was perfect.
But
it was so
he
good.
did a good job.
Yeah.
Especially his like attachment to his phone that he didn't have and how it was like a constant thing. Like, I relate. I get it. Jack Black. Nailed it.
Yep.
It was funny. Really funny.
The Rock just played himself.
Pretty
Dwayne
much.
Johnson.
Yeah, let's refrain from using such slanderous words that he used to brand himself for like a decade.
Yeah. He's trying to get away from that brand and just be
President Johnson.
Don't call him the Rock on the street or he'll give you the people's elbow.
Is that one of his wrestling moves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. 2 for 2, Carly. But what is Jumanji? I think that's an interesting question. Where did it come from?
They never
Where did it go?
explained it in the first one. They never explained it in the second
Where did it
one.
come from?
Cotton Eye Joe?
Cotton Eye Joe.
That night, Jumanji.
Jumanji. Exactly. But in all seriousness, not seriousness. What is Jumanji? Why does it have the ability to recognize change in trends and adapt to...
In order to be played.
Yeah.
It's like, how does it know what to change into in order to entrap the new youth?
Yeah. How about this? The world does continue to evolve, and AI becomes a thing. And then Jumanji gets rediscovered after its 15th or 16th evolution, whatever it may be. And it's like, oh, everyone's playing with these now, and it becomes an AI. How fucked are we?
It's basically artificial intelligence as of right now, only magical, right?
Yeah.
Because it has a mind of its own. It's able to adapt. It knows how to try and get children to play it. It has a goal to achieve, which is just to finish the game for whatever reason.
But if it becomes an AI, like an actual true-to-life artificial intelligence, it's not going to be bound to one place. It's not going to be bound to people playing it. It can make the world its game and make everyone play its game.
Yeah, as long as the world's connected as it is now, I mean, they just make the entire world Jumanji.
Bum, bum, bum.
I think that's way too deep for Jumanji, but...
Well, we're talking about the concept of the being Jumanji right now. We're not talking about
Or
the film.
the concept of the being Jumanji, which is in 2 family movies.
Yes.
You're in a family movie, sir. I still think that the story that they go with in this game, where the power comes from the Jaguar's Eye Stone, I think that was Jumanji. I think it started as the stone, became whatever it became a board game, became a video game. I think that is a reasonable explanation as to what Jumanji is.
So Jumanji is just trying to tell the story of itself.
Yeah.
Just trying to get its own story out
Yep.
there is what you're saying.
Yep. Along with the conversation of what is Jumanji, what's its motive? You know that you and I agree on that, and I don't know what she thinks. I don't remember.
Well, we all agreed that it wants to be played. That's why, like, in the first one, it created situations to create motivation for you to finish the game in order for it to go back. And in this one, obviously, you couldn't leave unless you did. It was very, like, kidnappery.
So you're saying Jumanji wants to be played?
Yes.
So what you're saying is that the fact that Jumanji wants to be played lends credence to what I'm saying, that Jumanji comes from the stone originally, and it just wants to tell its story?
No.
Tyson, suck a dick? She agrees with me?
That was kind
She
of
says no.
I think you're kind of stretching.
That was a bit of a stretch.
100%.
Hope you don't pull anything.
Oh, I warmed up beforehand, don't worry.
Is your hammy okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Peak athlete here. Fatly.
In the first one, Alan Parrish plays the game with... What's her name?
Whoever her name is.
Yeah. I don't remember her name. It's not that important. He gets sucked in. Years later, the children play it. Everybody finishes the game. They go back in time. Alan Parrish is a child again. Goes back to loving his life with his hard-ass dad. And he remembers, she remembers, but the children don't remember anymore.
Because the timeline where they played the game is...
It's different. It's a different timeline. It hasn't happened. But in this one, the children... The older guy gets sucked in the game. The children play. They all finish it. Everything goes back to normal. And his life is now back to normal where he hadn't gone missing. But the children remember it now. Now they're somehow excluded from the time warp change.
Yeah, I thought that was weird as well.
Tachyon particles in the suntan lotion.
Okay.
Honestly, I think, all jokes aside... I think Tyson summed it up best. The first Jumanji's told from Alan Parrish's side, so it's about him learning his lesson. The second, the sequel is told from the kids' side, so it's just more convenient for them to be able to remember. Because you go through
Otherwise they wouldn't learn their lesson?
You go through a hero's journey and you make your transformation. It doesn't matter if you don't remember it.
Yeah, from a writing
I
standpoint,
honestly think that's all it is. I think it was just kind of maybe a little bit lazy.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense if you really want to be critical about it.
Because the Hank brother would have still remembered, and his life would have been changed, and he still would have remembered the person that saved his life.
Yeah.
And all of that. All of that would have stayed the same. It's just the difference of the children learning their life lesson, which...
Yeah. Well, because the same thing happened. Jumanji returned the original kid to their timeline, and then the timeline broke off from there. But the difference, like Carly said, is that the kids remembered in this one, which completely goes against the rules that were set up by the first movie.
It's true.
Which, again, is just them separating.
It's just a convenience thing, I think. Convenience for storytelling.
Just from a writing standpoint.
Because, I mean, could you imagine the hassle of coming back as Alex if they didn't reset him to when he disappeared? Like, he'd have to go through DNA testing and lie detector tests, and his parents' lives have already been ruined. Like, really, what's the point of coming back if they're not going to give him a happy ending? So they have to send him back. And the kids have to remember.
That's
because,
how that works.
Yeah. I think in the end, Jumanji just wants us all to be a little bit better, but they still want us to have our happy ending. And I'm not talking about the movie. Again, I'm talking about the entity Jumanji.
There was not a lot of throwbacks that we wanted to see. Obviously, there wasn't the animals that we wanted to see that were in the original one. I mean, even remotely, I think the only thing that we saw in the original one that we saw in this one was rhinos and an elephant. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, there were a few similar animals, not recognizably the same animals. I know for the way they promised to have it be a good tribute for Robin Williams, and how I feel like just having his name Alan Parrish, this is his house, and that scene, it was okay, wasn't perfectly done. We have the game pieces as the statues, and they have a game piece that they carry with them, which I don't think they needed. It didn't add anything to the story. And they already had mosquitoes in the story. The mosquitoes in the first one would have played, I think, perfectly. Would have been a better line drawn between the two, be recognizable, and it would add to the story.
Yeah,
make the story that it was a little bit better.
Yeah, it made Nick Jonas's character's weakness a lot more believable.
Yeah. significantly so.
I mean, even like, I mean, you can go off the basis that hey, Kevin Hart's character's weakness was cake, and he fucking exploded from it. But
I feel like that's much more a comedic mindset, whereas like
his actually
you can't have your weakness be mosquitoes in the jungle. He would have been bitten by mosquitoes 3 times within the first 20 seconds of loading up. It's not possible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
it's very avoidable to eat cake.
What I have to say about the throwbacks is that I feel like it was done intentionally to distance themselves as much as they could, because whenever you're making a remake or a reboot or a sequel, you're going to have the benchmark set by the previous film, and they knew going into the film that it wasn't ever going to live up. Whether they thought it was going to be a great movie or they just thought it was a pretty good cash grab, they would still know that it's not going to live up to it because it's got the lore and the fanfare that this original does.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is, like, if they wanted to, like, shoot for just under it, they didn't accomplish that.
Well, I don't think they wanted to shoot for just under it. I think they just wanted to create as few opportunities for us to go, oh, that's not how they did it in the first movie, as possible. I don't think they wanted the same animals. They wanted the same villains. They wanted to make their own movie.
Well, that's kind of where they dropped the ball for the entire movie for me, is that they just made it action fantasy movie with the Jumanji name.
Yeah.
Why would they try and make their own version of the movie and then promise that it's a good tribute to the old movie?
Because it was.
But
it was a touching tribute to Robin Williams.
It was a good movie, not a good Jumanji movie, in my opinion.
No, I've said from the beginning they should have just gone the Zathura route and called it something else. Mm. You don't have to call it Jumanji if you're going to cast The Rock and Kevin Hart. Yeah. Sorry, Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. You can call it Shit Party 6, and it's going to get views. People are going to see it.
But then people will recognize it as, like, Jumanji-esque.
But
and be
it wasn't.
Being trapped in a game is being trapped in a game. That's always going to be Jumanji-esque.
Well, what if I grew up a few years later and never saw Jumanji and saw Zathura? Then it's Zathura-esque.
But even watching Zathura, you know that's Jumanji-esque.
Yeah, but if I don't know what Jumanji is, like I'd never heard of Jumanji, it's not Jumanji-esque, it's Zathura-esque. It's the same debate as what is Avatar. Is Avatar Ferngully? Is Avatar Pocahontas? Is Avatar Dances with Wolves? It's all the same movie, just depends on what you saw growing up.
Yeah, but the thing with this movie is that with Ferngully and Avatar and Pocahontas, those were all named differently. This one had the label Jumanji on it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a Jumanji movie.
But if you don't know what Jumanji is, it doesn't matter what the movie's called.
But if you see
it's reminiscent of something else.
If you see this movie and you learn that there was an original Jumanji movie, you'd be more inclined to go look at the old Jumanji, and then you can make comparisons then.
Very true. Very true.
Like, I also grew up and I saw Jumanji as a kid.
Yeah, that was the shit.
Yeah. It was a great movie.
It was awesome. It was fun.
Slightly terrifying, as all good children movies are.
Mm-hmm. At least from our generation, where they really wanted to scare children. You know, behave or you'll get sucked into a board game.
Yep.
It's a lesson I live with today.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's why I never play board games. Carly kind of touched on it, the tribute to Robin Williams. I feel like it was really well done. It's subtle. Yeah, because it's not the engraving. It's not Alan Parrish was here. That's not the tribute. It's the line delivered directly after. Says, "This is Alan Parrish's house. I'm just living in it." I think that is the touching tribute, and I thought it was good because it is subtle, but it is, it's nice.
But to your point, they're trying to not be in that house.
As far as my point is, they're not trying to be in that house because they're trying to avoid comparisons.
Yeah, they're trying to be as far away from Jumanji.
That's not my point at all. That's not my point at all. What I'm saying is they wanted to limit the amount of opportunity for people to compare the old movies. Doesn't mean that they don't want to be in the house of Jumanji, because if they didn't want to be in the house of Jumanji, they would have called it something else. I'm just saying that when you reboot a film, you don't want people to go, oh, well, this is different from this is different from this is different from this. You want to use the shell of a story and tell your own story. because otherwise you're just making the same film worse. Because it's never going to be as good as the first film in any case. Italian Job and Italian Job. Jumanji and Jumanji. Fun with Dick and Jane, Fun with Dick and Jane. Jim Carrey movie. You're using the shell of a story to tell your own story. But you don't want to create opportunity for comparison because your movie's going to get picked apart. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they don't want to be in the Jumanji house. I'm not saying they didn't want to pay tribute to Robin Williams or Jumanji as a whole for that matter. I'm just saying that it doesn't do you any good as a storyteller to be like, oh, compare my story to a similar story, please.
Well, I feel
it doesn't do you any good.
If you put the same title, you're immediately opening up yourself for comparison.
Yeah, 100. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying if you tell the same story or use all of the same tools to tell the story differently, you're not going to get anywhere. Because you're going to say, this is our Jumanji movie. It's the exact same, we just have different actors, but everything else is the same. Then they're going to be like, well, it's not the same because this is different, this looks different, the characters are played a little bit differently. They're not trying to avoid all comparison, all criticism. I'm really not trying to say that. They're just trying to not use the same storytelling tools. They don't want to be exactly Jumanji, because if they wanted to be exactly Jumanji, they would have had him playing a board game. The Rock probably wouldn't have been in it, or he would have, and Kevin Hart would have played his son. Would have been hilarious. But they wouldn't have changed everything that they did. Well, they made changes to differentiate themselves from the original story.
I think they could have used the same tools, but also had like updated, like even with the video game, they could have done a lot of similar stuff to the first movie instead of
on your side.
Anything.
I think that it should have been more of the same, because one of the biggest problems we pointed out when we talked about this last night was that there was no action because they didn't have any. They had 2 scenes with animals in the whole movie. There was no action. It was all exposition. All, this is what we have to do. Okay, this is what we have to do. It's all standing in a field and talking. It was really entertaining, but there was nothing to the movie.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. But I'm not disagreeing with you guys in the slightest. I'm just saying that this is why I think they did the way they did it. Because I agree with you wholeheartedly that they could have used a lot of the same tools. I just am trying to give this perspective as to why they didn't.
Devil's advocate?
Basically.
All right.
I just wanted to give another look, because while you guys are right, I don't completely agree with you. Because I see it from this other side that could just be completely made up in my head. I could think I know what I'm talking about and not know anything.
So you're just saying they could
agree with me.
The next note I have is about the cinematography and the direction, which were not awesome. A lot of green screen. It was filmed in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a 2017 movie, so it was 95% green screen.
Yep.
It's fine. I didn't feel like there was any
Nothing breathtaking,
incredibly over the top cheesy for the action sequences.
Not really. In fact, I think they could have done with a little bit more cheese.
It is a video game after all. Yeah. Like they hinted to that with like the boomerang and all the bad guys just like poofing, disappearing in thin air. They could have done more of that because it is a video game.
Yeah. Also, when they respawn, they fall out of the sky and then they land.
They die and they explode into a pile of fire, puddle of blood.
It's just like basic direction, basic cinematography. You know, it wasn't anything super special.
Do we want to talk about everybody thinking that the kid in the raincoat in front of the old creepy house was some sort of hint at the movie It?
Yeah, everybody has drawn like way too many just off the wall parallels. Like
it's so weird.
There was so many, yeah. Like with Doctor Who guessed that she would be in Jumanji.
Oh my gosh.
I think that one might be worse than the It one.
Yeah.
Oh, in one of the episodes of Doctor Who, she was on a jungle planet.
Like so?
So what? She's also on an ice planet. Does that mean she's going to be in Ice Age 50-5?
Yeah.
No.
Sarah and Peter's mother from the first movie, her name was Martha.
Oh.
That automatically means that the next female character's name has to be Martha.
That means that when they make this movie again in 23 years? Jumanji was in 95 as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so when they make this movie again in 23 years, they're going to name one of the characters Martha. We're etching it in stone right now.
Jack Black was in King Kong. That was another jungle movie.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of stupid parallels. Like, no, him wearing a raincoat wasn't reminiscent of it. Until someone comes out and tells me otherwise, it wasn't. I refuse. Say what you want. It was just him being the perpetual bubble boy. Oh, you gotta always be prepared. Fucking said that. Why would that be it? Why would that be it? Did you see balloons? Was what's his name taken in front of a fucking creepy house? No. He was taken at the fucking rain gutter in front of a regular house. Have you seen the movie? Internet?
But it was coming out of the sewers from that creepy house, so.
Yeah, way the fuck in a different spot. Yellow raincoats and creepy houses are always reminiscent of it forever now. Even in Paddington Bear.
It's canon now.
Yep. It's canon in every canon as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another parallelogram would be that Fridge's jersey number was 94. Dwayne Johnson when he played for the University of Miami in Florida.
Is that where Miami is?
Well,
I thought it was the University of Miami in Colorado.
well, first of all, the rest of my point is that was his jersey number at Miami.
Yeah.
But you jerk face jerkykins who are bullying me, there is a University of Miami, Ohio. So I wanted to clarify.
This movie did not have a lot of substance.
There
so
wasn't a
there's
lot
not
to talk about. It was an entertaining movie with a
Great cast.
great cast, with a common storyline, with a shell that is very popular and was going to draw a lot of, nostalgia. It's going to draw a lot of people that are like, I grew up watching that movie, let's go see it.
And it's got so many different actors from so many different genres that they pulled. Like, they did get Karen from the Guardians movies. And
Probably most importantly, Doctor Who.
And Doctor Who. So they're grabbing, like, that audience because they love her and they know her. Jack Black is
Only people
amazing.
on the planet that do.
Classic.
Whovians.
I love him. It's probably my favorite.
I felt like it was just kind of a stupid thing. Like, they hammer home the one life. You have one life, you have one life. Mm-hmm. And then there's so many contradicting times where it's just like, there's no consequences for your actions. You get to squander your first 2 lives in the video game. Nick Jonas fucking dies because he gets bit by a mosquito this fucking big, which is, as we already discussed, fucking stupid. And
he makes out with Jack Black.
Yeah. I mean,
Great scene.
He gets lucky to make out Jack Black. He gets a free life. Seems like dying was the right choice for him. In the game.
He was not built to last.
In the game.
And at that point, he had already fulfilled his role. He was the pilot. They got over the canyon. They didn't need him at that point.
No.
They're gonna make another one. How do you think it comes from being a broken video game into being again?
It's gonna become an AI and take over the world.
It might evolve into like a next gen console game. I mean, I don't know what else they can do.
PS4 VR.
It has to stay in some realm of video gaming, right? Or it's just not going to make sense for them to return the main 4 actors.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to return the characters that were in the video game.
Are you going to see the sequel?
At some point, yeah.
I mean, if you guys see it, I'll have to see it.
You want to do final thoughts and ratings out of 10?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
I actually definitely would recommend this to a friend. I had this recommended to me by a friend, and I enjoyed his recommendation. It was hilarious. Wasn't the perfect Jumanji movie that I was maybe hoping it to be, but I enjoyed it. It was well done by the actors that I enjoy. And overall, I did give it a 6 out of 10, just with my initial viewing. But it's a good movie.
Tyson?
I feel like it was an okay movie. I would recommend people see it once. It's a see once movie. You're gonna get everything that you're gonna get out of it the first time you watch it. It's not a complicated movie. It's not a deep movie. It's just an action fantasy, family action fantasy. That's all it is. 6.5 out of 10. See it once.
Yeah, I would have to say, I agree. It's at least a see it once movie. I've seen it twice now, so I didn't hate it any more the second time. I actually still enjoyed it, but it's at least a see it once movie. I think Jumanji did everything that it set out to do. I maybe in their heart of hearts, the people making the film believed that it was going to be a great transcendent family movie like Jumanji was. I don't think they did, honestly. I think that they knew what they were doing. They set out to make an entertaining movie to make a lot of money. And I think they did. And I don't fault them for that. It's what I would like to do. But I enjoyed it. And, it's a kid's movie, but there's some subtle adult humor. There's enough elements to the film for everyone to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Unless you're a terrible, heartless monster. But, I would also say a 6.5 out of 10.
Second episode in a row where we have the same rating.
Tyson and I, people don't know this, are actually the same person.
It's true.
I know the camera makes it kind of hard to tell, but we are actually the same person.
We're both just astral projecting.
Half a point more critical than you guys.
It's because Carly is also the same person of us, but just a little bit more.
Side.
Yeah, just a little bit harder. She's been hurt one too many times by films. She's out to get her revenge by lowering their score by half a point.
But you see, I'm afraid that the movie won't like me, so I just choose not to like it first. All right, some of the stuff we already mentioned, the statues in the jungle, are modeled after the board game pieces in the original film.
Mind blown.
The film's African jungle setting was shot in Hawaii, which we mentioned that. I think it was the same area that they shot some of the Jurassic Parks. Kevin Hart says his backpack was a character unto itself. It became the unsung hero because everything was always directed to my backpack. It was my go-to for any improv and comedy. We already mentioned that Karen Gillan thought Ruby's look was a lot of fun, stating it was an interesting highlight to the familiar trope, particularly from the 90s video games, of the way women were portrayed in those games.
She says were, like they're not still portrayed that way.
Colin Hanks' father, Tom Hanks...
Told you it was his goddamn son.
...was considered for the role of Alan Parrish in the original Jumanji. Our second film, my choice, is going to be Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Pretty excited.
This is a pretty decent movie. I've only seen it
Hated
once.
it the first time I saw it. Have since come around. I'm excited to get to watch it again.
Was it my enthusiasm that brought you around to it?
Well, it's definitely you're making me watch it. You can find the three of us or our actual podcast at Jecll Studios. That's Jecll Studios. 2 words?
Altogether.
1 word. 1 word. Jecll Studios. And that's on all platforms. That's YouTube. It's Gmail. Jecll Studios at Gmail. YouTube, Jecll Studios. Twitter, Jecll Studios. Instagram, Jecll Studios. Facebook, Jecll Studios. It's Jecll Studios across all platforms.
Yep.
If you like the video, leave a like, leave a comment. If you didn't like the video, leave a comment anyway. I think it'll be funny to see what you have to say.
Any suggestions for movies, possibly?
Leave a comment.
We will definitely do a viewer suggestion.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Hit us up with the subscribe. Hit us up with the notification bell. Exactly. Hit that notification squad, man. And as always, welcome to the jungle.
I thought you were going to do the what's in the box again.
Nope.
It's going to be, as always, and something different every time.
Yeah.